Now, this is a really slick technique, and part of the reason you're here is to learn from my master techniques of how to use this software, other software. In this particular case, we're going to use Adobe Fireworks. You can use Adobe Photoshop too. The reason I use either Fireworks or Photoshop is whatever you copy to the clipboard will make your image size the same size of what you copied. Now that implies that you want to use the same size image, not necessarily the same image itself. So here's what we can do. We're inside of our visual section of the page we've been working on. We're going to scroll down here, and we just want to replace this image. So what I can do is either right click, control click, and I'm going to copy the image. Right here, copy image. Now, I'm on Macintosh, so you can either Command Tab or a Control Tab. I'm going to go right back to Fireworks. So if I click here, I go right into Fireworks. And nice thing about Fireworks, even though Fireworks is no longer supported, I still use it quite a bit. You can use Photoshop as well, but I like Fireworks better for web graphics because it was built from the ground up as a web graphics tool. So I'm going to make myself a new file now. Similar to Photoshop, anything you copy to the clipboard, Command-C, Control-C for Windows, will create a document with that same exact size. So we're going to make a document on a white background and hit OK. Now, if I want to use this area as a placeholder, I can do that. Or I can paste in what I just copied and make further changes to this image. Now, obviously, this is a flat JPEG file, so I can't simply go in there and make changes to the text. But just to give you, for instance, I'm just going to replace some of the graphics in here. So let's go ahead and save this file. Now, one of the true advantages of working with Fireworks, unlike Photoshop, Fireworks' default file is PNG. PNG Portable Network Graphics supports continuous tone photos and also transparency. Now, GIF supports transparency, but GIF does not support continuous tone like a photograph. Photoshop uses PSD files, although you can open up a PNG file, portable network graphic, inside of Photoshop, but Photoshop's native file format is PSD. PSDs are not web publishable. PNG files are, so you can take advantage of layers, etc., etc. Of course, I have a complete course on Fireworks, and you can watch that inside your dashboard admin using my plugins. So I'm going to do something really kind of cool. I'm just going to import a graphic. So I'm just going to go here, go to my little tabs over here to the left. I'm just going to go grab something. And I'm just going to grab a simple photo here. I'm going to paste that photo right there. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller. This is not a course on Fireworks, so I'm just going to Command-T to transform and just scale this down. Or I can hit Command-Shift-T or Control-Shift-T for Windows, and I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to cut and paste. And I'm just going to choose to put that right here. Now, here's a little slick technique. If, in fact, I want to put that right inside this area, I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller. And again, this is not a course on Fireworks. I have a complete separate course on Fireworks. But I just want to put that in that area. So watch this. I'm going to cut that to the clipboard. I'm going to hit the U key, and that's going to create a new box. And I'm going to put a box right in here from point A to point B. And based on these choices, I'm now going to paste right inside that box, paste inside. And it's going to put that right inside that box like it was there to begin with. I'm going to save the changes. Now keep in mind, this is a PNG file, so therefore if I need to make further changes to that, I can go back and make those further changes, etc., etc., etc. I'm also going to come up here and do a little bit of artistic liberty here. I'm going to change this. I'm going to hit the U key again. Actually, I don't know. Was it right at the U key? That's the shortcut for the box here. And I'm just going to cover that up with white and a little bit of propaganda here. I'm just going to put in think, learn, earn. Now a little shortcut here. I'm going to select all, Command-Shift less than, Command-Shift greater than. I can actually increase, decrease the size of the text. Similar to Quark Express or Illustrator or Photoshop, do the same thing. I'm just going to reduce the size here, and I'm going to make the color. In fact, I'm going to sample the same color that's in her cheek. How cool is that? And I'm going to put that right up in here. Command-T, transform. Again, this is not a course on Fireworks. I'm just sharing with you the possibilities. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller and come back here and return. Make a change, save a change. Okay, so I exported that file from Fireworks as a JPEG file. Therefore, it's a flat file compression. It's going to load faster. And now we can make changes to the existing file here. So one of the things I can do is I can go and add media. Now, I already added that media to my library here in the back. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to select the file that I want to replace it with, and I'm going to insert into my post. So it's going to take that existing file and it's going to replace that file with this new file. Now, here's a little bit of a disclaimer here, or actually a little bit of a hoop jump. I now have to select this file and I go to edit this file. And by default, this is coming in as a medium size. We can set that up in our media library differently. But all we need to do is change that to our original full size, and I don't want to link this to anything. And I simply hit update, and I successfully replaced my file with a new file. Now, in this particular case, we just modified an existing file, but it could have been any file that you wanted to replace in that area. That's how simple it is to change files. I'm going to update these changes. I'm going to come back up here and preview change. And there's my new file. Simple as pie. Okay, so once you understand where your information is, you can simply change it and it's going to keep that same property, whether it was a fade in or whatever properties that particular image had. Now let me share with you another technique here. Let me go back to the page here. Now, by default, the images that are placed in here from the demo content behave slightly different. What do I mean by that? Well, if I come down here to another image as an example, and I hit this edit button, okay, now typically you would have something in here that said you want to replace that, but the way that this is built from scratch, that option is not available to us. So here's what we can do. Okay, once you swap that out, the image we just swapped here, if I wanted to replace that again, watch, because I physically swapped this out for the media, so now it's going to behave exactly the way WordPress was intended to behave in the back end. If I click right here, this is now going to say, do you want to replace this? Notice that wasn't in the original default settings for the Avada insertion files for the theme. So now if I hit replace, I can go and select any media file that I want to, and I can replace it with this if I want to, as an example. I'm going to replace, and it's going to replace that file. So that's just built into the scenario. Now, let me share with you another cool production technique. There's no revert to save, but what I can do is I can go off the page, say leave the page, yes, don't stay on the page, leave the page, which will basically kill your save, anything that you didn't save. Now when I go back to the page, my original file is still in place. So this is the original file that was there before we update the save. Does that make sense? So keep in mind we're still on version 2. So I can click right here again, and if I click there, that's not going to give me those settings for replacing the file. So what we'll have to do is come up here to add media, select the file. Notice it's the same size here, but it's not going to put the same size in there by default. I'm going to insert the media file. I then want to come up here, select it one more time, hit the edit button. I want to change that to the full size, and I don't want this to go anyplace. And I update that. I come up here and I update the changes, and I publish the file. Now, let me share with you an alternative way of swapping out images in our next video to share with you a little different technique, so stay tuned.